What's up, Scyushi Squad? We are back games more Trove to the Trove, and we are finally going to be tackling the Neon Ninja in the 35k series, or we should aptly rename this to the 36k series because now we've got all my characters at 36k PR. But I'm still in the habit of calling it the 35k series. Let me get my timer ready. So what we're going to be doing in today's video is I'm going to kind of run you guys through how you're going to end up playing the character and so on and so forth. But generally speaking, this is not a build video. We will have an updated video talking about how you build the character and so on and so forth. But most of all, this is kind of showing the true potential of the character with pretty much maxed out. You know, I have all my gems maxed out. I have a good physical set. There is a couple things that I'm lacking. So I don't actually have a C4 melee weapon. I don't think anyway, because I don't think I ever farmed for it. And I don't really have a very good crystal ring. Now, one thing that I do want to mention before we get into today's video is just the changes that happened with the Neon Ninja over the course of many updates. Because I noticed that a lot of my guides are kind of out of date with the Neon Ninja. More specifically, the Shadowy Spotlight update, which still isn't on console, go figure, actually ended up changing a lot of the Neon Ninja. And it kind of ended up nerfing him and making him stronger and stuff, and it's just, oh, never mind, it's just all stronger. We didn't need the Neon Ninja to be stronger, but anyways, we'll go into more detail with the build video, but generally speaking, just for the numbers. So the basic attack damage of the Neon Ninja has been increased to 285%, up from 100%. We didn't need it, but here it is. Stasis Blade damage, which is the number one, the dash attack, that has had the damage increased to 450%, up from 250. And then the final technique, ultimate ability, has been increased to 550 damage, up from 300% damage. They also changed the Shining Star damage, which is basically your shurikens when you throw that, which is pretty much the bulk of the damage of this character. So we actually had all of the damage increased across the board. Why? I mean, I'll take it, but Neon Ninja just was already top in terms of speed farming. So they made it so that level 1, 2, and 3 basically have increases of the first star is 275% up from 250. Second star is 475 up from 450, and the level 3 star is 1000% up from 950%. The critical damage bonus on the level 3 star has been decreased, however, so it kind of just evens itself out and does basically the exact same thing. So anyways, in terms of what we're going to end up doing today, I'm going to end up starting a timer. We're going to do 5 minutes in the geode surface so I can show you guys just how speedy this guy can be, and then we're also going to end up spending some time in the delves. So let me get my timer started and let's get to it. So let's see, which direction do I want to end up going. Also, I should have bombs on my hotbar, but I never do. So a couple quick tips that I can give you guys for the Neon Ninja, and a couple changes that have happened to the Neon Ninja that you may not know about, is first of all, you're going to be basically playing this guy backflipping all the time. So I'm not going to be like 100% optimal with my movement, okay? Because I haven't played this guy or mained this character in a very, very long time. But you can just see the sheer amount of damage that we do, especially with our normal base attacks now, just because of the buffs that we've received. It's absolutely nuts because it means that you can actually not be 100% reliant on your shuriken. So the fastest speed farming class in the game just became that much faster because now we're not 100% reliant on our shuriken to end up dealing all of the damage. The other thing that happened over time, this was with a couple updates ago, is they changed it so that you will actually build up shuriken strikes with just doing a backflip. Like, that's it. You just backflip and then you end up getting a ring around your character, which already was a huge buff to the character because basically Trove gets broken down into a handful of things, which is either speed farming or delves farming. And the way that speed farming basically ends up working with, you know, Neon Ninja or just speed farming in general is that basically you have your time to kill, and then you have the time with which it takes to travel from one dungeon to another, right? And Neon Ninja always was slightly, and I say only slightly, lacking in the category of destroying enemies, like in the time to kill, just because the fact that you needed to build up your shurikens, because normally you'd get in a dungeon, you would have to melee something a couple times in order to end up building up your shurikens so that you could then end up killing the boss or whatever that was inside the dungeon, which of course now is not even a problem just because of the fact that we also have the built shurikens. But then again, we're not reliant on our shurikens. Like, the fact that we can actually just kill things with our melee damage is absolutely insane. So what I'm expecting is going to end up happening with all of these changes to the character and why the class ended up getting buffed is because I think we can all agree that the Neon Ninja was kind of poop when it came to the delves. So hopefully we're going to end up seeing a change with that. Oh, some guy is already here. Okay. I'm not trying to follow him around or anything. I usually like doing all these dungeons myself. But anyways, Neon Ninja has always been one of the fastest characters. If you're backflipping through the air, you'll notice that your energy doesn't recharge because it doesn't recharge when you jump. That's why the pro tip is that if you're on flat terrain ground, you can actually just spam your backflip. And so long as you have energy regen on one of your pieces of gear, you will actually end up regenning your energy faster than you can deplete it. At the very least, if you're on the ground, right? You know, and like I said, we'll go into more detail with all of this stuff and more when we end up doing the updated class guide video, because today it's most of all just showing off, you know? It's like just showing the character and how strong it is. Let's actually use our ult just because I'm curious to see. Okay, so that's not doing nearly as much damage as I would hope for. Seems like this guy's following me around. Unfortunately, that's what kind of happens, which isn't that big of a deal, except for the fact that I'm trying to show you guys the damage of this character on its own so that you can better determine, oh, well, if this character's doing this like this well on its own, then how good is it going to end up doing when you're in a group? Which generally speaking, Neon Ninja's not going to be in a group because it can be really, really difficult to coordinate speed farming together just because of the sheer amount of travel time. Like, look at this. We're killing these dungeon bosses long before they even end up, like, long before we even end up building up our shurikens, dude. Like, that's how powerful the Neon Ninja is with his base attack now. It's absolutely insane, which is great for like kill 30 enemies and stuff like that, because Neon Ninja's just got such an insane amount of attack speed just in general, because obviously you want to build towards movement speed and attack speed with this character. But, you know, again, we'll save that for the proper video. But anyways, I've always really liked Neon Ninja, but the one thing that I couldn't stand about it was just the backflipping constantly. Because if you're playing this character super duper optimal, you're basically going to be doing this all the time. And then you turning back and forth all the time. And you want to, at the least, always have a backflip procced, because when you backflip and go invisible, that essentially ends up giving you the increased movement speed. The other thing too is I'm not really in the habit, just because we're killing these dungeons so quickly, I'm not even using our full potential, because I'm not even popping a flask, which gives us trailblazing and so on and so forth. But anyways, I think that's enough time for just normal U10. As you can see, not only with the time traveled between one dungeon to another, Neon Ninja was always top tier with this, but now the fact that we can actually deal heaps and heaps and heaps of damage just with our base attack means that Neon Ninja, without question, I mean, it was never in question whether this was the fastest like speed farming character in the game. It always has been, always will be, especially when they just keep buffing it, which kind of makes me a little bit frustrated. If you'll have noticed in my last video where we talked about the Tomb Raiser getting some nerfs, where the Draco ended up getting buffs and even your boy the Neon Ninja ended up getting buffs, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But anyways, it looks like Multi's trying to end up coming into the delves, which I don't want to actually end up doing with him. I'm sorry, dude. I'm just doing a quick video. So let's get into it. Let's see, how does Neon Ninja fare in the delves? Because delves is a little bit different than speed farming, because this takes into account survivability of a class, which Neon Ninja didn't really have. And as far as I know, I forget which update this was, but they ended up changing it where basically, oh my god, well, we're doing plenty of damage. They changed it so that the delves bosses, as far as I remember, this was a couple of updates ago, I think they changed it so that you actually can't snare them, which is the most harebrained, like, stupid decision I've ever heard that the developers ended up doing. Because while they're sitting here trying to make this unbalanced game balanced by making it so that you can't end up just snaring the enemy indefinitely, because obviously it was really overpowered, because you would essentially end up just doing your shuriken, and now that you can just constantly backflip to recharge your shuriken, it essentially meant that you could end up keeping a boss like in stasis perfectly still the entirety of the battle, right? Like, it was just not, there was no question of how valuable a Neo Ninja would end up being. But generally speaking, what a Neo Ninja is going to end up doing is we're going to end up trying to run to the end. So Neo Ninja's goal has always been in the Delves, because you're a speed class, you're trying to get to the end so that you can end up getting the Reach Cursed Skull objective done for the rest of your group. That said, I'm very happy to report that we are now at the point where it seems like you can actually use Neon Ninja for damage as well. Now, granted, this isn't a super deep delve. This is only 119, so it's not a super difficult one. But as we've seen with some of the other characters that we've used in these videos, some of them don't really have the best damage, and some of them don't have the best survivability, which in our case, you know, again, to reiterate, Neo Ninja does not have survivability, but it does seem to have the damage. I mean, it kind of always had damage. And then if you can stasis the enemies, like when you get to deep delves, essentially all you would do is just keep stasising an enemy from far away by using your shurikens over and over and over again, right? So, like I said, it doesn't work on bosses as far as I recall, but it does still work on enemies. So I'm going to try my best to see if we can actually stasis this guy. Yeah, you see he just breaks out of it right away. But we can also see that our damage is a little bit falling off. You know, Neo Ninja kind of only ever had the utility of being able to stasis the boss, which it seems like it's very glitchy. Like, it seems like it stasises him for a split second. Okay, so you can still kind of exploit it. At least with the shuriken stasis, maybe not necessarily our dash. Our shuriken just kind of seems to get him stun locked for a short while. But as you can see, the damage falls off significantly as soon as we end up actually fighting a boss. Just because, I don't know, that's just kind of what ends up happening with Neo Ninja. Neo Ninja has really good burst damage, but as soon as you're faced with a tough opponent like this that ends up dealing heaps of damage, suddenly it becomes a bit more of a problem. Now, I also realized that I'm actually still using Zealous Emblem and not using Unyielding and Martial Emblem, so hopefully this will make a little bit more of a difference here, just because I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't go into this like 100% prepared. But anyways, now we can see that the damage is significantly better. Let's see what happens when we use our ult. Yeah, there we go. So your ultimate being boosted is actually more consistent damage, it seems, than using your shuriken. Just because with the shuriken, you have to constantly like build it, and you can see just how long your ult ends up lasting. Like, it's actually pretty crazy. But the shuriken was most of all, again, because of the utility of being able to stun lock, which you can see it's taking a pretty big chunk of its health out. But generally speaking, it seems to be better to even just spam your base attack on an enemy as well, rather than bothering with the shuriken, just because of the fact that we can't snare them anymore. But, you know, again, happy to report that it seems we can end up maining the Neo Ninja for every facet of the game now. You can end up using it for delves, and you can use it for speed farming. Obviously, the ideal is for speed farming, and the only reason you would use this character in the delves is maybe you don't have a setup with another character for the delves or anything like that. Like, maybe you don't have any extra gems or whatever. Now, of course, the last aspect of the game is fighting Leviathans, which, as you can see, you wouldn't really end up using a Neo Ninja on a Leviathan, especially because I don't think snaring works on them either. Again, if you're spamming your ultimate on Neo Ninja, it's okay. It's not great, but it's kind of like if you're just sitting there with your group and you're trying to fight Leviathans, and again, you're stuck just using the Neo Ninja, then it seems like spamming your ult would probably end up being the best, because it would keep you at a range, which means it gives you survivability, and it does seem to do significantly more damage than I remember it doing. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. Again, we'll have another video that's going to go in more detail about how you build the character. I hope this was a good enough highlight for you guys. I tried my best to remember to use all of our abilities. I didn't really use the dash that much, but it didn't really matter for U10 so much, just because all the enemies ended up dying like almost immediately anyways. But in terms of delves, as you can see, Neo Ninja seems to do fine. Again, I would recommend, if you're using Neo Ninja, it's for speed farming as the priority. but it's not like you can't use it in Delves anymore. Obviously, other characters are going to outshine it in the Delves, but I really like where Neo Ninja is standing right now. I mean, Neo Ninja has always been like a really, really great speed farming character, but now it kind of feels like it's a little bit more well-rounded, if not way too powerful for just normal Uber worlds. But anyways, thanks for watching. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel, and have a wonderful day, everybody.